Hello YouTube and welcome back to another video. For today's video we've got something just a bit different. And here is the package. So as you can see, it's quite a big package, and for a sense of scale, here is an iPhone 3GS. Alright, so let's open it up. So we have a bunch of wrapping material here. Seems like we've got some newspaper, and we've got the first camera. Next up, we've got the second one. Then we've got one more, and we've got the biggest one of them all. So I will put everything off to the side from the shipping material anyways, and we'll take a look at these. So I've got some cleaning materials off to the side here, but first off, I guess we should actually unwrap these. So we kind of just jumped straight into this video, but welcome to another episode of Inbox Mail Time. In today's video, we have a package of different Sony Mavica cameras, and they're all different model-wise as well as how old they are. One of them even takes mini CDs, which is really cool, considering the others take floppy disks. And they all have their own interesting features and just their design language overall. You can definitely tell we're in the late 90s, early 2000s era of Sony design, which is just amazing. But we'll jump right into the specifics of all these cameras and what the lot came with right after we finish unwrapping them. And there they are. So these are all of the Mavicas from the lot. I believe the batteries should be in some of these. Let's take a closer look at what we actually got. So from left to right, we have FD75, an FD83, a CD300, and an FD95. And we're of course going to clean all of these, but real quick, let's take a look at them. Let's see if there's actually some floppies inside, or even a CD. So starting off with the FD75, all of these cameras have their lanyards, which is nice. They're all the official Sony ones as well, because they say Sony. Two of these have their covers, the others don't. The FD75, so we have all of these stickers here, which is cool to see. So we can copy, we can email, we can add picture effects. This one does have 10 times optical zoom. Do we actually have a battery? We do. That looks like it's still the official Sony one. And the moment of truth, do we have a floppy disk? We do not. So this one doesn't have a floppy, but it is fortunately complete with its lanyard and lens cap. So now let's move on to the next one. Next up, we have the FD83. So this one looks like a step up from the previous model because first off, we actually have a larger area for the sensor itself. It looks like it's its own separate unit almost, instead of being kind of one piece of the housing. And we've also got an actual microphone, so this might have a better integrated microphone versus the other ones. This one also has a 4 times quick access floppy drive. Plus we also have MPEG Movie brand. And of course, the stickers itself also boast the MPEG Movie option. We've also got 6 times digital zoom. I'm not sure about optical, but it does say 6 times digital precision digital zoom on the side as well. And we've also got megapixel images. So 1216 by 912, which is pretty cool. Also, I just realized we forgot to check on the first one if there's a battery inside. So this one is empty, and I guess we might as well take a look at the lens itself. So it is a bit dirty, but that should clean right up. So this one also does take info lithium out. This one does have the battery inside, specifically NP-F330. There's the specifications there, 7.2 volts, lithium ion, of course. And I wouldn't be surprised if this still does kind of work if they haven't been worn out. Sony batteries can still usually hold a decent charge. And there's no floppy inside. It seems to be in good condition. Again, it does look a bit smudgy, but that should clean up. So now let's take a look at the CD Mavica. This one is special because it takes CDs, specifically 8cm or 3-inch mini CDs. This one doesn't have its cover, but the lens seems to be in good shape. This one has a 3.3 megapixel sensor, and let's check if this one has its battery. We will actually be able to test this one out, and we'll also see if this battery actually holds a charge. I don't have an Infinite Lithium L charger, so I'm not really sure if this one will work, but whenever I do get a charger, then we will of course definitely test these out. This one is a bit different different because of course it takes CDs. Yeah, let's open this up and we got a CD. So this one, it's a pretty cool blue color, and this one is a CDR. So we got a free CD in here. I'll leave that in there for now so it doesn't get damaged. There's also a little window here. So this one also does have a dedicated DC input jack. The other ones don't, but I do have an actual charger that this will work for. Let's take a look at the biggest one. We have the FD95, and this one is basically like a normal Mavica with an entire lens unit just attached to it. It's just one solid piece. Now this one does look like it's in the most used condition, but cosmetically it still isn't that bad. I'm sure it would clean up pretty nicely. We got something very interesting in here. If you can't tell what that is, that's a memory card. So that means this has the floppy disk adapter. If we can actually get this out, it might be, oh no, there we go. Check that out. Oh man, that is awesome. And we even have a free memory stick. So I actually do have, I believe it's a 64 megabyte. So this one is, oh, this one's 128 megabytes. I don't know if this has batteries, but this is actually quite heavy. For those interested, the model number is MSAC-FD2M, floppy disk adapter for memory stick. But now let's actually move on to the camera itself. So of course it takes floppy disks. The sticker up here says it's compatible with this, which makes it pretty fancy. The flash is actually hidden, and you can just press that and it'll pop up. And the bottom is where the battery will go. Of course, this does take Info Lithium L. Alright, so now it's time to clean all of these up. Alright, so here's a small montage of everything being cleaned up in the lot, and this is obviously a sped up and trimmed down version of what it really looks like, because it would otherwise have taken way too much time in the video to include every single second. I also found out that this is actually really easy to open up the battery compartments on here, and both of the battery compartments actually do have batteries. Whether or not they still work, who knows? If those still work, then that's also another bonus. If not, then having the adapter itself is still pretty cool to have. And of course, here's the rest of the cleaning process, and even though it did take quite a while, it was definitely worth it, because at least the three of them that are in better cosmetic shape, they look like they have just been unboxed from their retail packaging, which is awesome to see. And it would be cool to have the boxes, but for now we just have the cameras, which is still awesome, and it's just cool to see them all lined up like this, because the Sony design language of the 90s and the 2000s is just awesome to see, and it would be cool to have even more Sony products lined up with these Mavicas, or even just the whole Mavica lineup. We're starting with these, and I would like to make dedicated videos covering them in the future and show what they're capable of. Now, the one thing I did not go into depth with cleaning are the actual camera straps. Now, they do seem to be official Sony ones. However, I'm going to do some research and see what Sony recommends specifically on how to clean these. They might have to be hand wash only, but they might also be machine washable. I'll just have to see what Sony recommends in the manual or wherever they mention it. I'm sure there'll probably be some information online on how to actually clean these properly, but I might also make a video about the actual cleaning process on these in the future. So for the CD300, the FD75 and the FD83, they all seem to be in very good cosmetic condition considering their age. None of the actual buttons or labels have been worn down. They still have their stickers, and even if there's some minor damage to the stickers, the fact that they're still there is really cool to see. The FD95 is in the worst cosmetic shape out of the rest of the Mavicas, and it is also missing a lens cap, but the CD Mavica is also missing one. It's not that big of an issue, but even with the wear and tear, it's honestly nothing too serious. A lot of the dirt and grime did not help with its cosmetic appearance, but since it's been cleaned now, it looks quite a lot nicer. What's nice about the CD300 and the FD95 is that they also have DC input jacks. And because they all take the same Sony standard, I was able to use my AC-L100 adapter, which I recently unboxed in another video for my Sony Handycam, and I was able to use this same charger for these two cameras, and I left the batteries in them to see if they'll actually accept a charge. It also is worth pointing out that you can still use these cameras on the AC adapter alone without the batteries plugged in, which is nice, but considering these two don't have DC input jacks, I'm only able to use them with the battery, and that's unfortunately the bad news regarding these batteries. Now, I don't know how often or how much they were used back when they were new, but unfortunately leaving them to charge for a couple of hours resulted in them showing a full sign a couple of minutes after being plugged in, and unfortunately they only last for a couple of minutes at best. The best runtime I got out of both of these is basically a minute. So even if I'm able to extend the battery life out of these, I probably will gain very little, considering the fact that these are pretty old batteries and they most likely are not going to work. That does also mean that considering I was holding a small amount of charge, I was able to briefly power up those two Mavicas, and they do work, but I'm not able to really do anything beyond seeing if the camera displays anything, because the moment it tries to write to a floppy disk, it probably takes up too much power and it just immediately dies. The good part is that these batteries, InfoLithium L, are still being made because they're commonly used for video equipment, so for lights or any other video accessories. They are still readily available, so I might get some replacements in the future. Same goes for the InfoLithium M standard. They are basically the same, except for the fact that they are different sizes physically, and they have a slightly different position for the microprocessor to communicate with the camera, but overall they are still being made to this day. And we can't forget about the floppy disk adapter. So this of course did come with a memory stick, and this memory stick does work. There was nothing on it, but the actual stick is working just fine, so I'm able to read and write files to it, and the adapter itself I believe will work. However, I think the batteries are dead in here because whenever I tried it, it did not want to do anything. It should work just fine. And with that, that brings us to the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, then be sure to stick around for more and consider subscribing, as that really does help out the channel. But for now, thanks for watching.